You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, Days of Our Lives fans. This is Soap Dirt on YouTube, and we have got your daily Days of Our Lives recap. This is for Monday, April 17th, 2023, and we are getting closer to Bo and Hope's exit from the Peacock soap opera. We've also got some scenes with Alex Kyriakis and Marlena Evans, who actually didn't know each other. We've got John Black spending time with Brady Black. We've got Wicked sisters Megan and Kristen bonding at Statesville. We've got Hope, Harris, Stephanie, Chad, and we've got Bo, Kayla, and Patch having a disagreement. There is a whole lot to unpack in this episode. It's really good stuff. Please take a moment and click that subscribe button below so you always get the latest on Days of Our Lives spoilers, recaps, and updates directly from Soap Dirt on YouTube. Now, let's dig into what goes down on Monday. We have got Dr. Marlena Evans back to work at the hospital. She comes into her office. There's nice signs and banners everywhere. She's really happy to be back to work. And then someone she doesn't know knocks on her door. Of course, it's someone that the rest of us know, and it's Alex Kyriakis. In the broad scheme of characters around Salem, these two have just never met each other, and so they make introductions, and then Alex sits down to talk to her. He's very interested in hearing about Kayla Brady's fate. Of course, he thinks that Doc might know something since she was away with her, and he knows the search is on for her now. And Alex tells Marlena that Kayla being alive could mean his redemption. And then he explains PhoneGate, the story about him turning off Stephanie's phone while they were making love and how it caused their breakup, and now she's with Chad. But with Kayla alive, then Alex hopes this whole thing will be a non-issue. He thinks he might actually have another shot with her, but it doesn't look good. But this is maybe him deluding himself. And then as they start talking and everything, Alex is just uncomfortable getting introspective, and he isn't sure that therapy is for him. You know, this is a guy who just bounces bed to bed and is a real playboy, but then he was falling for Stephanie, and then he got his feelings hurt. So yeah, he definitely needs to talk to someone. And so their conversation gradually slips into a form of therapy session, and she figures out about his guilt over costing Stephanie her last moments with her mom, Kayla. And she can definitely see that Alex wants another chance with Stephanie. After they talk, she invites him to come back for an official therapy appointment, and he brushes her off. This is just not for him, yada, yada. But he takes her card, and then after some thought, he later calls her back to put something on the calendar. So yay, Alex is getting some therapy. Maybe Marlena will deal into his clear case of sex addiction while they're at it. Now we flip over to the home where John Black lives with Marlena Evans, and Brady and Rachel have been staying there. And so John comes in with some flowers, and he's fussing because Doc is back to work. And Brady reminds him that 24 hours after she came back from the dead, she was already seeing patients at the house, so it's no big deal. But John is really grumpy about it. But Brady's got his own issues because Kristen DiMera just tried to call him from Statesville prison, and he ignored the call. He rejected it. John, however, is not sure that what his son is doing is a good idea, and he's also worried about Patch and why he's not been in contact. John wishes he was with Steve hunting down Kayla, but he's way too worried about leaving Marlena alone after losing her and getting her back from the dead. Meanwhile, John says he talked to Victor Kyriakis, who says he knows nothing about who took Kayla. And of course, Days of Our Lives is still keeping Victor alive by making excuses about people talking to him on the phone and texting him and how Victor's out of the country right now. So it sounds like even though John Aniston is gone, that they are going to keep Victor alive for a while. Meanwhile, talk turns back to Kristen, and John Black tells his son freezing Kristen out could make things worse. He says it could actually rebound on him because if Rachel Black thinks he's deliberately keeping them apart, then he might have more problems with Rachel. And then Brady, of course, talks about this thing with Chloe and how he feels like he's losing her, and Rachel and Chloe, setting off against each other. So he does take John's advice, though. And when Kristen calls again, Brady takes the call, and Kristen says she's got something important to tell him. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about, which is Megan and Kristen, actually is happening simultaneous to what's going on with John and Brady. So when she calls, this stuff we're about to tell you about has already happened. Okay? So at Statesville, Kristen was really PO'd when Brady rejected her call, and she's banging against the phone. And then she hears this woman basically saying, "Chill out, sister." And then she turns and's like, "I don't have a sister." And Megan's like, "Actually, you do. And I am your sister." And Kristen says she's pretty well preserved for a dead woman. And Megan says the cryogenic chamber fluid is really good for your skin. And Kristen's been following this whole thing on the press, within the press, and she grills her about the Thomas Banks thing and why the ISA would even send Megan to prison in Salem. And Kristen is really icked out that Thomas masqueraded as her in Monte Carlo. Of course, that was on Days of Our Lives Beyond Salem, Chapter 2, and that was Eileen playing the role, Eileen Davidson. And then Megan and Kristen have a laugh about it, and she starts asking Megan about Kayla, but Megan says she's of no use to her anymore, and she reveals she had taken Kate and Kayla and Doc so that they could be Dr. Rolf's guinea pigs, but that's over now. But Megan is still being sketchy, and she's not giving anything away. Kristen, however, is sure she can figure out what Megan is hiding. Megan admits she had to give up a name to the ISA, and so she threw Thomas under the bus, and Kristen gives her a lecture about that's not how you keep people loyal. They talk about how many brothers they have. Megan, of course, doesn't know any of these brothers, and Kristen says, "You don't want to know them." They wind up laughing, and Kristen keeps pumping her for secrets and calls them sisters of crime. Megan admits that they both want to be out of Statesville, and in the end, some of the comments that Megan makes have Kristen wondering if Bo Brady might be alive, and then there's more talk about breaking out, and then she calls Brady, so she might give him some info that Megan gave her to try and buy some goodwill. Over in Greece, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. We've got Hope knocking on Harris Michael's hotel room door. They chat, there's a kiss, but then they're interrupted by Stephanie and Chad, who are also in Greece, and they are looking for Steve, of course, and Kayla, but someone is watching Stephanie and Chad. Stephanie recalls the havoc that Harris wreaked. He's the one who delivered the pizza bomb back in Seattle that injured her. That was another Beyond Salem thing. And he offers a sincere apology for what happened, and she is ready to forgive him because he's there helping find Kayla. Then Hope tells them about the message she got saying Steve was with Stephanie. That was actually a message that Bo sent to get her off the trail. It's clear now that that message was erroneous since Stephanie is there contradicting it. And so the four of them figure out something is up. So they think they need to split up and cover a bunch of territory. Hope takes off for the local police station where they tell her that Steve was taken by Shane Donovan after she shows them a picture of Patch. But then she shows them a picture of Shane Donovan and they're like, no, that's not who took him. And so she's like, that's not good. And then Stephanie and Chad have taken off to a warehouse where they're supposed to meet someone. And we know from upcoming episodes, that's where Thomas Banks is going to find them. But that doesn't happen yet on Monday. And then Harris heads over to Victor's childhood home, and Bo opens the door, and Harris is face to face with who he definitely knows is Bo Brady. So that should be interesting. Before Harris comes to the door, now we have this stuff also happening simultaneously with Bo and Kayla and Patch. Patch is banging on the wine cellar door, yelling for Bo. And that's when Bo has his phone and is intercepting messages, and he deletes the worried voicemail that Stephanie has sent, and he also sends that fake message to Hope to try and get her off the trail. Bo comes in the room with soup for them and wine. He had gone fishing, and they are just furious at him. They're going off. They ask him about Hope, and they try to get him to see sense. They talk to him about family and his grandkids and that Sierra is pregnant. But Bo says that Hope can't be in his life because she doesn't approve of his Kyriakis side. Patch calls BS on it, and tempers are running hot. Bo wants Kayla getting to work on Rolf's research now that he has the prisms, but she keeps telling him she doesn't have the right equipment and making excuses. He tells them time is running out because Stephanie and Chad are in Greece, and then he threatens both Hope and Stephanie, and that sends Steve into a tirade, and he attacks Bo. Bo fights him off, loses his temper, and shoots. Kayla screams. There's red splatter. You think it's blood. It's not. It was just a bottle of red wine. But clearly, Bo is at his limit. That's everything that went down on the latest Days of Our Lives. Click that subscribe button below so you don't miss any of our soap opera spoilers and updates. And stay tuned because it is a big week in Salem because Thomas Banks is about to confront Stephanie and Chad. Bo tells Harris not to tell Hope that he's alive, and so that's a lot for Harris to think about. There's all just really big stuff coming up, and we have to see if Kristen is going to immediately betray her sister Megan to try and win favor with Brady. We'll see. Stay tuned to Days of Our Lives.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.